The text message from my brother Ethan came at 9:47 a.m. on a Monday while I was in a staff meeting at the nonprofit where I worked as a community outreach coordinator. Finally closed the deal. $175,000 wired to startup account. Thanks for being flexible about the settlement. You're the best, sis. I stared at the message for 10 seconds before my brain processed what it said. Settlement. $175,000. Startup account. I excused myself from the meeting and called Ethan immediately. He answered on the first ring, sounding euphoric. Meredith, did you get my text? We closed. Henderson Capital wired the funds this morning. My app development is fully funded now. I literally couldn't have done this without you. Ethan, what are you talking about? What settlement? The victim compensation settlement. From the accident. I told you I was handling the paperwork, remember? The insurance company finally agreed to pay out $175,000. I used it as collateral for the startup loan, and today Henderson bought out the settlement rights. It's all perfectly legal. My attorney verified everything. My hands went cold. Ethan, what accident? Silence. Then, the car accident. From 2019. When you were injured. The car accident. I'd been 26 driving home from work, when a drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned my sedan. I'd spent 4 days in the hospital with a broken collarbone, fractured ribs, and a concussion. The physical injuries had healed, but I'd developed PTSD from the crash. Panic attacks in cars. Nightmares. Therapy twice a week for 2 years. I never filed for victim compensation, I said slowly. Yes, you did. I helped you. Remember? You were so overwhelmed with medical bills and therapy costs. I told you I'd handle the legal stuff. You said you'd help me organize my insurance claims. Not file for victim compensation. It's the same thing, basically. Look, the point is we got the settlement. And I was able to use it to fund the startup. This app is going to change everything, Mare. You're literally investing in my future. I didn't invest anything. That money was supposed to be mine. It is yours. Technically. But I'm your brother. We're family. What's mine is yours, right? And this startup is going to make millions. When it pays off, you'll get your cut. I promise. Ethan, where is the $175,000 right now? It went to Henderson Capital. They bought the settlement rights from me this morning. That's how startup funding works. You leverage assets. The settlement was just sitting there and you weren't even using it, so how could I use it if I didn't know it existed? Another pause. I'm sure I told you. You didn't. Well, either way, it's done now. The transfer is complete. But seriously, Mare, this is good for both of us. When the app launches. I hung up. At 10:15 a.m., I called the State Victim Compensation Program. A woman named Patricia answered. I need information about a victim compensation claim filed in my name. Meredith Caldwell. There was a car accident in 2019. One moment. Keyboard clicking. Yes, I see a claim here. Filed in January 2020. Approved for $175,000 in November 2023. Payment was issued on, looks like last Friday. Who filed the claim? Let me check the documentation. The claim was filed by Ethan Caldwell. Listed as your power of attorney. I never gave him power of attorney. Patricia's tone shifted. Ms. Caldwell, if the power of attorney was obtained fraudulently, that's a serious matter. You need to contact our fraud investigation unit immediately. She transferred me. I spent the next hour on the phone with an investigator named Robert Chin, explaining that I'd never authorized Ethan to file a claim, never signed power of attorney documents, and had no knowledge of the $175,000 settlement until this morning. Do you have proof that you didn't authorize this? Robert asked. How do I prove I didn't sign something? Fair point. We'll need to examine the original documents. If the power of attorney was forged, your brother committed fraud against a state compensation program. That's a felony. Are you prepared to pursue charges? I thought about Ethan. My younger brother. The person who'd helped me move apartments, who'd visited me in the hospital after the accident, who'd called me his best friend at his college graduation. The person who'd apparently forged legal documents to steal my victim compensation and use it for his startup. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. At 2:34 p.m., I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. A man's voice, professional and clipped. Ms. Caldwell, this is Dennis Walsh, State Auditor's office. We've been copied on an investigation regarding victim compensation claim fraud. Can you confirm that you're the victim named in case file VC 2020-447831? Yes. And can you confirm that you did not authorize Ethan Caldwell to act as your power of attorney or to file a victim compensation claim on your behalf? Correct. I didn't authorize anything. Ms. Caldwell, we've retrieved the original power of attorney document from the file. The signature doesn't match other samples of your signature on record. It appears to be forged. We're opening a formal investigation. I need you to come to our office tomorrow at 9 a.m. to provide a statement and signature samples. What happens to my brother? If we determine he committed fraud, he'll face criminal charges. Fraudulent filing for victim compensation is a Class D felony in this state. He could face up to 7 years in prison and be required to repay all fraudulently obtained funds plus penalties. After the call ended, I sat in my apartment and tried to piece together the timeline. Ethan had visited me in the hospital after the accident. He'd helped me organize medical bills. He'd offered to handle the paperwork because I was overwhelmed. Apparently, handle the paperwork meant forge my signature and file a fraudulent claim for $175,000. For 3 years that claim had been processing. For 3 years Ethan had known money was coming. And he'd never told me. Instead he'd waited until the settlement was approved, then immediately sold the rights to a capital firm to fund his app development startup. My phone rang. Ethan. Mayor, I just got a call from the state auditor's office. They're saying something about fraud? What's going on? You forged my signature, Ethan. You filed a fake power of attorney and claimed victim compensation I didn't authorize you to claim. That's not, I was helping you. You were so stressed after the accident and I knew you'd never get around to filing on your own, so I expedited the process. By committing fraud. It's not fraud if the claim was legitimate. You were a victim. You deserved compensation. I just helped you get it. And then you sold it without telling me. I was going to tell you. I was waiting for the right time. And besides, you're going to benefit from this. When the startup takes off. Stop talking about the startup. There is no startup anymore. The auditor is going to seize the funds. You're being investigated for felony fraud. Silence. Then in a smaller voice, they can't take the money. Henderson already wired it. The deal is closed. The deal is based on fraudulently obtained rights. It's void. Mayor, please. You can fix this. Just tell them you authorized everything. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. You're my sister. You wouldn't let me go to prison over a technicality. A technicality? You forged my signature. You stole $175,000. That's not a technicality. I didn't steal anything. That money was always going to benefit the family. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. He started crying. The manipulative kind. The kind he'd used since childhood when he wanted something. Please, Mayor. I'm begging you. My whole future is riding on this. If they take the money, I lose everything. The startup, the investors, my reputation. Please. You should have thought about that before you committed fraud. I hung up and blocked his number. The next morning I went to the state auditor's office. Dennis Walsh met me with another investigator, a woman named Sandra Price who specialized in financial fraud. They had me sign multiple documents and compared them to the forged power of attorney. This isn't even close, Sandra said, placing the documents side by side. Look at the capital M. Yours has a distinct loop. The forgery doesn't. And the baseline slant is completely different. He didn't even try to match my signature? Most forgers don't. They assume no one will check closely. Dennis opened a folder. We've also discovered that your brother used the fraudulent power of attorney to access your medical records, employment information, and financial statements. He needed those documents to complete the victim compensation application. So he committed identity theft too? Yes. We're documenting everything for the district attorney. Expect charges to be filed within the week. Sandra pulled up a laptop. We've also contacted Henderson Capital. They were unaware the settlement rights were fraudulently obtained. They're cooperating fully with the investigation and have agreed to reverse the wire transfer. The $175,000 will be frozen pending resolution of the case. What happens to the money after that? It goes to you. It was always yours. Your brother had no legal right to claim it or sell it. Dennis looked at me directly. Miss Caldwell, I want you to understand something. Your brother didn't just commit fraud against you. He committed fraud against the state. Victim compensation funds come from taxpayer money and criminal restitution. When someone files a fraudulent claim, they're stealing from a system designed to help people who've been hurt. This isn't a family dispute. This is a crime. The revelation settled over me slowly. For 3 years I'd struggled with therapy costs and medical bills, scraping by on my nonprofit salary. I'd skipped dental appointments because I couldn't afford the copay. I'd stayed in a cheaper apartment because I thought I couldn't afford better. Meanwhile, Ethan had known that $175,000 was coming. Money that legally belonged to me. Money that could have helped me recover from the trauma of the accident. And he'd said nothing. Instead, he'd waited until the money came through, immediately sold the rights, and planned to use my compensation to fund his tech startup dream. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from my mother. Meredith, Ethan told me what happened. How could you do this to your brother? He made one mistake and you're trying to send him to prison? He's family. We don't destroy family over money. I deleted the voicemail without responding. Over the next 2 weeks, the investigation expanded. The state auditor's office discovered that Ethan had forged documents 3 separate times. The initial power of attorney, a medical authorization form, and a financial disclosure statement. He'd accessed my medical records illegally, misrepresented my financial situation to inflate the compensation amount, and sold settlement rights he never legally held. The district attorney filed charges. 1 count of forgery, 2 counts of identity theft, 1 count of fraud against a state compensation program, and 1 count of illegal sale of victim rights. Combined, Ethan was looking at up to 15 years in prison. His startup collapsed immediately. Henderson Capital demanded the return of all funds and threatened to sue for fraudulent inducement. Ethan's business partners discovered the truth and cut ties. His attorney tried to negotiate a plea deal. The plea hearing was scheduled for October 14th. I attended, sitting in the back of the courtroom. Ethan stood before the judge in a suit I'd never seen before, his face pale and drawn. His attorney addressed the court. Your Honor, my client acknowledges his actions were misguided. He deeply regrets the harm caused to his sister and the state compensation program. He's prepared to plead guilty to 1 count of fraud and make full restitution in exchange for a reduced sentence. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the state opposes a reduced sentence. Mr. Caldwell didn't commit one impulsive mistake. He engaged in a calculated multi-year fraud scheme. He forged documents repeatedly. He accessed protected medical records. He sold rights he never held. And he only expressed remorse after being caught. The judge reviewed the case file. Mr. Caldwell, do you have anything to say? Ethan's voice was barely audible. I'm sorry. Thought I was helping. I thought the money would benefit both of us eventually. I never meant for it to go this far. You never meant to get caught, the judge said flatly. You forged your sister's signature. You stole $175,000 from a program designed to help crime victims. You demonstrated no regard for the law or for your sister's well-being. I'm accepting your guilty plea, but I'm rejecting the prosecution's recommendation for a reduced sentence. You're sentenced to 8 years in state prison and ordered to pay $175,000 in restitution plus $50,000 in penalties and investigative costs. Ethan's face crumpled. His attorney tried to object. The judge was unmoved. Court is adjourned. Ethan was taken into custody immediately. He looked at me once as the bailiff led him away. I met his eyes and felt nothing but a quiet sense of closure. My mother called that evening. Are you happy now? Your brother is going to prison. You destroyed his life over money. He destroyed his own life by committing fraud. He's your brother. And I'm his sister. He stole from me. He forged my signature. He sold my victim compensation without my knowledge or consent. Being family doesn't excuse that. You're heartless. Just like your father. If holding people accountable for crimes makes me heartless, then I'm heartless. She hung up. We haven't spoken since. 6 months later, I received a check from the state victim compensation program. $175,000. The full settlement amount Ethan had stolen. I paid off my student loans. I covered 2 years of therapy in advance. I moved to a better apartment with a parking spot that made me feel safe. I donated $25,000 to a nonprofit that helps accident victims with PTSD. The rest went into savings and investments. Money I should have had 3 years ago. Money that would have made my recovery easier, my life less stressful, my healing more complete. Ethan sends letters from prison occasionally. They're full of apologies and promises to repay me when he gets out. I don't respond. His attorney contacted me once, asking if I'd write a letter supporting early parole. I declined. Dennis Walsh called last month with an update. Your brother's case has become a model for victim compensation fraud investigations. We've used his file to train auditors on detecting forged documents and fraudulent claims. In a strange way, his crime has helped us protect the system for future victims. I'm glad something good came from it, I said. I still go to therapy. Still have occasional panic attacks in cars. Still wake up sometimes from nightmares about the accident. But I'm healing. And I'm doing it with the resources I was always entitled to. Resources my brother tried to steal but couldn't in the end take away. Last week I drove past the intersection where the accident happened. It's been 5 years. I didn't have a panic attack. I kept driving, hands steady on the wheel, breathing normal. Progress isn't linear, my therapist says. But it's real. And it's mine. Just like the $175,000 was always mine. Just like my recovery was always mine. Ethan tried to steal both. He failed. And that, more than anything, feels like justice.